Today we're chatting with longevity researcher Chris Curwen about how he first got into the field of longevity, what longevity means to him, what longevity means to me, and do we really want to live forever? Christopher, welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the Health Drive on what is a miserable day in Manchester. It is absolutely filthy. We'll get up, aren't we? We're sounded. Yes.
I think so.
Not over this lovely little Chinese lady right in front of the car. It's,
I'm excited to be here because I've seen many pictures and many videos of the infamous Health Drive van, and it's a pleasure to finally be here in the heated seat, which is lovely.
That's right. It has all the mod cons for you, Chris. And Chris, you are a longevity researcher. Is
Yes.
that a good way of how would you phrase it?
I think
yourself?
so. Yeah, I think that's a good way of phrasing it. I would say, because I treat researchers and scientists slightly different. I don't like to call myself a longevity scientist because my background, I did a bachelor's in biological sciences and then I moved on to a master's. I always feel to reach the accolade of scientist, you need to have done a PhD and done some hard-hitting research in that area, which I feel like I haven't quite reached that level. But I went from my master's and then more into getting into startup businesses and just working out in the world, the commercial world, which I really loved. I think there was a definite point that I thought, shall I do a PhD? Shall I go on to the world of academia? Mm-hmm. And I just enjoy the startup world and getting into the nitty-gritty of how the research is applied into real life, really. So that's why I sort of made the move more into a commercial world, and that's why I sort of deem myself as a researcher rather than a scientist, I think.
Because certainly the world of longevity has exploded. It maybe wasn't something, let's say when I qualified as a doctor 32 years ago, longevity wasn't really a word. It wasn't really anything you would be able to define. Yep. And then probably in the last 10 years it's gathered much more apace. Mm-hmm. So you're using your scientific background to then look into the world of longevity and how, because it's not really, the government's not overly interested in it. No. Health services are not overly interested in it. It's going to be the private sector which is going to push on. How do you see longevity in your mind? What would it be? The definition of it?
I think what you touched on there is the sort of stigma that there was around longevity and the word longevity, and working in the world of longevity. I think there was a lot of stigma around it until fairly recently. When you talk to a scientist and I think they said they were working in longevity, I think people sort of turned their nose up. Because
it was seemed to be like Walt Disney freezing himself or something, like it was fighting against an inevitable part of nature.
That's
was almost ludicrous.
Exactly, and I think the world of cancer research and Alzheimer's research got a lot more respect and credibility, and quite rightly, a great field. But I see longevity as trying to look at all of the different age-related diseases all together. It's not, we're not just taking one disease and looking at it. We're trying to encapsulate the whole aging phenotype and what it means to become more susceptible to these incredibly damaging and debilitating diseases such as cancer, Alzheimer's, heart disease. All of these things, what do they all have in common? It's getting older. That's the main thing. So really, to me, it was going to the fundamentals, the first principles of disease, and that's where longevity came into play for me.
So that idea that, and it's really, again, never really mentioned in medicine, I don't think, until recently, is that the crux of all illness is not that illnesses appear as illnesses. Things age. They age, they go wrong, and at that point they then present their aging as a disease that we recognise, whether it's ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, dementia. When you look at it, the cells had to get old first before, because really healthy, young, well-behaved cells do not get diseased and do not age in that sense. I hope you're enjoying our chat with Chris, and we'll be back with him after this short message. Hi, Dr. Andre here. Well, thanks for watching The Health Drive, and check out our all-natural supplement range, Optimum Day and Night. Now, thousands of people in the UK, the USA and beyond have been using the Oxford Natural supplements to get better sleep, better energy and better overall well-being. Optimum Day, which I always use, is designed to boost energy, to curb cravings, and to keep your metabolism firing all day. Optimum Night, well, that's different. That helps you to relax, to sleep deeply, and to restore while your body is recharging overnight. Now, they aren't magic pills. They are a science-based way to help you feel your best. We've had such great results. Check out Michael Owen, the England footballer, Robbie Lyle from AFTV, Linda, a PI lawyer, Anita, an immigration lawyer, and Owen from United View. All of them have found better control of their daily habits, better mood, energy, focus. And now it's your turn. So scan the QR code, click the link, and use the code word DRIVE for 70% off your first order. Oxford Natural. No gimmicks, no needles, just results. Let's get to it. Was there anything else? Was there anything personal? Did you have a personal vendetta against aging or longevity?
Not particularly. I mean, the way I got into it actually was I quite like telling a story. I don't know if other people find it interesting, but I quite like to reminisce.
We love a story.
So it was I was in my my bachelor's, and I was in a random lecture room in one of my classes. I can't remember the actual class, but they were talking about, it was animal biology, and they were the teacher. It was a sort of classic lecture room. Everyone was sort of half snoozing. It was a bit of a dreary afternoon in Edinburgh, and the teacher the lecturer started talking about biologically immortal beings, biologically immortal animals, and I'd sort of half been paying attention, and when she started mentioning that, I thought, wait a second, what? Biologically immortal? It didn't really make sense. I'd never heard of a creature that didn't die from natural causes. So I sort of perked up, and I thought, wow, this is fascinating. And I sort of looked around the class to see, like, I expected everyone else to be like
on the edge.
What's going on? And sort of everyone was, still sort of half asleep. And I was thinking, this is crazy. I've never heard of this biological immortality phrase. And essentially, there are beings, organisms. One called the Hydra, which is a fairly simple organism. There's variants of jellyfish and crustaceans, which essentially they get to a point of their life where they don't actually show any signs of aging.
No change from year to year.
No, yeah. They basically, how they die is through predation, so being eaten, or infectious disease, and that becomes the only reason why they actually perish. And it was just it sort of fundamentally changed the way I thought about life. Like you sort of flipped it. You sort of grow up and
inevitable, isn't it?
These sort of fundamental things in life. You're born, you grow old, you die. Those are, you don't even think about those in real life. On a day-to-day basis. And suddenly I was presented with this bit of information where that's not the case for all creatures. So just that sort of sparked that curiosity, where I was like, I have to learn more about this. And I remember going home from that lecture, and I just typed in the word biological immortality and started looking up all these creatures, and I was like, this is like, how do we not talk more about this? This is incredible. And essentially these creatures, they get to an age and they don't show any signs of physiological aging, and they can essentially age indefinitely. And it just, in my mind, it just changed the way I thought about it. It made me first think about the biological concept of aging and what that actually means at a more fundamental level. And then I started really digging into what it actually is. And there's a very famous paper called the Hallmarks of Aging, which cover the different sort of biochemical
Can you remember all nine?
No, don't please don't test me on that.
I probably could.
Remember a few, but yeah, I could maybe rattle them off, but I'm not going to try. I'll just embarrass myself. But it just opened up this world, which it was at a time in my life where I was looking for that sort of thing to get really excited about. So that was my route in, really, and and then actually started emailing people in the area. Got really fascinated with it. Started emailing people in the area and scientists from, I'd look up these papers and the principal author is always on the paper. You can usually find their email address. And to me, they were these like larger than life, incredible scientists, and of course they are. But I started emailing them and they replied to me. And it was really incredible. They were interested. That this, I was, undergrad at the time, was interested in their work because it wasn't really talked about, and now that's really changing, and these scientists are becoming a lot more well known. But yeah, that was my route in, essentially.
Yeah, that's and I probably came to it from a slightly different angle of when my dad became ill.
Okay.
And with ulcerative colitis, which is a very nasty inflammatory condition, and I suddenly thought, oh gosh, what illnesses maybe are out there waiting for me? And actually, do I have to just wait to get ill, or can I actually prevent it and go back and prevent it and stop any of those initial dominoes occurring? They can't change your genetics, but normally illness is a combination of sorry, it was fun to cut you short there, but we struggle with that at the moment. But then there'll be a time whereby my body will be genetically open to this illness. I will then do things which will further initiate it, and then suddenly you're sick. So I was thinking, gosh, there's prevention, and there's prevention, and then got me thinking, well, my dad's gut was old, it was aged, hence it was not behaving well, and if it was young, it wouldn't do that. So these illnesses, they're not illnesses of young people. Young people don't get them. So there's a reason why these errors occur over time. And so you reach out to a few people, you start to, and then there is this science that you discover that aging is not what you thought it was. It's not actually an inevitable laid down rule. It's malleable.
That's it. That is. I think that's a great word to describe it. Is malleable. It's you can have an impact on the rate at which you age, which I think is a really interesting concept, and the actions that you have in life have an impact on that. And at the time in the longevity field, like any other industry, it has trends that it goes through, and the trend at the time was Telomerase Gene Therapy. So telomere attrition, or the shortening of telomeres, are one of those 9 hallmarks of the original hallmarks of aging. So a telomere is a short piece of DNA at the end of your your length of DNA in your cells, which essentially prevent it from degrading after the cells split.
Like the end of a shoelace.
Exactly.
Has that little bit. It's that protective bit.
For sure. It's
just there. That sort of coating.
It stops it fraying. Exactly like a shoelace. And essentially one of the hallmarks of aging was these telomeres, these protective lengths, getting shorter and shorter. And so there was the theory proposed that if you started lengthening them, that it would reverse the aging phenotype. So there was a spate of investigations and studies looking into a protein called telomerase, which is a protein that actually lengthens, so it reverses that aging of your telomeres. And these studies were looking into whether it was a viable treatment for aging, essentially. And so I discovered this, and I looked into this American woman called Elizabeth Parrish in the States, who was the first human to go through a gene therapy to introduce this protein into her body to help lengthen her telomeres. And I just got fascinated with the story and reached out to the scientists involved, and the lead scientist on that project at the time was our friend Davy Roy, and he was very kind in giving me some time to interview him, and I actually ended up doing my bachelor's thesis on whether telomerase gene therapy was a viable treatment for aging. And Yeah, just honestly, absolutely love doing it. It seems strange, but I really had a hunger to just learn and consume information around the subjects. I just thought it was fascinating. So, yeah.
So does it? You're not an old man. Okay, so you're
getting older. But
you're a young guy.
Yeah.
So longevity is, for you, it is clearly a way to combat the rate of aging.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you see it? Do you see it more of we need to slow the rate of aging rather than aging reversal? Maybe it's a bit of a combination, but where do you feel the moment we're leaning towards? Is it more like a slowing the rate than it is?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think first comes slowing the rate of aging. I think naturally, with where we are as a field at the moment, I think we haven't got that magic pill yet that instantly reverses aging and instantly makes and cures you from disease. But I think there are things which can reverse the health at which you're at. If you take someone who hasn't got the greatest lifestyle sort of factors, they eat very unhealthily, they don't work out. If you then get them to do all the right things, I think you can argue there is an element there if you're actually reversing their age. You're taking them from a state of where they were on a course to
change their life expectancy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's there is a place to argue that, but there's it comes down to semantics really. There's researchers that say that that's not actually truly reversing age, and I get their points, but in effect the outcome is that you're lengthening someone's life. So and increasing their health span as well, the amount of time that they're actually healthy and able to do the things that they love doing. And I think that's what it comes down to for me is I'm not here to try and make everyone live an infinite life and just eke out those years where you're old and can't do anything. Is what it really comes down to is we want to allow people to carry on doing the things that they love doing for as long as possible.
Yes.
And that's how I define it myself. Whether that's taking a walk with a friend, whether that's playing five-a-side football, whether that's going for a coffee or picking up your grandchild. It's all these things which I think just affect your quality of life. And that's what we want to try and lengthen, basically, your time able to do that.
Because I guess no one wants to die today.
No.
That I know. So if I gave a lecture and said to people, right, who wants to die today? No one's putting their hand up, unless it's a really, really bad lecture. But no one's putting their hand up. If you say who wants to live forever, then almost no one puts their hand up. So there's some day that occurs in your life where you think, you know what, I don't mind dying now. But essentially what we don't want to do is suffer. I think that's the fear is we know being older is associated with a lot of potential pain, discomfort, loss of capability, loss of respect in society, being forgotten, being wizened, and then vanishing, and then just slipping away. And why would you want to let that last as long as possible?
Sure.
But when you think you're at your strongest, at your fittest, at your wisest, on those days, you don't ever want that to stop.
Exactly.
You want that to go on forever.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're saying is, can we reach a point of great wisdom, perfectly satisfactory health, good quality of life, and boost that another 10 years when maybe eventually organs just do wear out. But maybe we can make those last years so much more pleasurable and enjoyable. That would be a very good starting point. It's certainly not the end point, is it? But it's the starting point.
Exactly. I think that's when I used to tell people I was in the longevity field before it started to get a bit more of a reputation. People would say, why are you working on that? Like, I don't want to live forever. I don't want to live as an old person forever. And I think maybe they were slightly missing the point. It's we don't want to increase the number of years where you're living in a debilitated state. Is we want to compress those. We want to make sure that you're not living in a state that you don't want to be in. You're maximising the years of healthy life. And exactly that. I think when people used to say, want to live tomorrow? And they say, well, yeah, of course I want to live tomorrow. I say, okay, if you're always in a state of being healthy and fit and can enjoy life, is there ever a point where you wouldn't want to live tomorrow? And they will say, well, no, because, you know, I'm doing all the things I love doing. So it's sort of, it changed their way of thinking about it, I think.
Yeah, I suppose people need to consider how life expectancy has changed. And if you go back to 1,000 years ago, life expectancy is not great. It might be sort of late 30s. And then it reaches, obviously improves, but really only really big steps in life expectancy in the last 100 years, whereby you may say it's gone from 45 to 75. That's a very recent thing. And then what we did, we just quit. That's it.
Stop there.
Yeah, we solve bugs. Yeah. And then that means we can live this far. And yes, I think the idea of outliving your grandchildren is not the idea. Though if we all do it,
exactly,
then society will move in a very different direction, in a healthier direction. And so, you then take steps now in your own life. You feel that does the idea of longevity to you, because obviously we don't have all the tools yet at our fingertips. You feel that you should be doing things now that benefit you for 40, 50, 60. Because theoretically, if these things come through in 30, 40 years, you'll still be in a very nice situation to make use of them.
Hopefully, that's a goal.
So your
longevity, escape velocity is the
planning
thing
ahead.
For. Exactly. I think. I mean, the first few years while I was working in the field, from an academic point of view. So I then went and did my masters, and I did a masters in cell and gene therapy. So that's looking at treating diseases by actually changing or introducing fragments of DNA into your body to help treat disease and reprogramming certain cells to help combat disease. And this is, I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of it, but I don't know if it's hugely well known, but there's this cancer therapies like CAR T therapy, which is you're using your cells' bodies, you're arming them, and you're sending them back into the body to help track cancer down and destroy it, basically. And that was where my masters brought me to, and I looked at it from an aging point of view. So I was in these classes, and actually initially we were looking at childhood diseases. Most of my studies were in the Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital, and but I always had a view of looking at it with an aging and longevity aspect in mind. So the first few years I was in the field, I was really looking at the fundamental biomechanics of aging and the biomolecular pathways. Really fascinating stuff. But after a few years, I was like, this is great, but what can I actually apply to my own life? Like, I'm not going to, suddenly inject myself with a gene therapy.
That would be difficult.
It's possible, but I wasn't at a point where I wanted to do that. So, and so I was like, actually, I started just asking myself the question, what can I do today that would impact it? And that it led me into more of a practical way of looking at longevity, which I've been doing for the last few years, and that sort of actually led me to focus on, the core pillars of health, which are exercise, diet, sleep, mental health. And these real core concepts, which everyone's heard of, but those things are going to make up the vast majority of your health and lifespan. So I actually started looking into. I'm actually currently doing a personal training course at the moment to really understand the fundamentals of actually training and building a training regime. And I want to bring the concepts that I've learned in longevity into that world, to bring a new aspect to training and exercise, because exercise is such a huge component, and just getting out there and moving your body it just has so many benefits that it's really you can't underrate it. So yeah, I've sort of moved in that direction to really look at those fundamental pillars and how can we optimize those aspects of our life that a huge amount of people do, but maybe they haven't applied that level of optimization onto their training regimes to prioritize longevity rather than building a load of muscle or losing weight. It's those yeah, that's where I've come to at the moment, where I'm trying to learn about that and start to apply it to my own life and get to the point where I can bring that into other people's lives as well. Because, you know, I've got parents who aren't getting any younger, and I'd love to be able to, you know, just on a personal level, you know,
make them hang around.
Yeah, exactly. I want to enjoy, you know, all enjoy our lives for as long as possible together. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment, and that's why I'm trying to incorporate those concepts into my own life.
Because the idea of longevity then still has to have its foundation, as you say, in a diet that suits you, exercise that is good for you, a sleep pattern that's appropriate, and people around you that make it worthwhile to be around. And still, there's nothing really that can really bypass those things. They are still things you should focus on the most. Yeah. Because most of them are free or cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know they all work. We know we can't do without sleep. We know we're better with exercise. Then for me, this idea of longevity is that's the basis.
Yeah. I would actually like to just before you, like coming from the view of a medic. Yeah. Because obviously what doctors are hugely capable of is ensuring people, you know, don't die and keeping people alive. But how much of your studies looked at diet and in terms of medical training and exercise and things like that, because they're so fundamental. And it's something I always love to chat to medics about, is to understand how much.
I'm sure that most of them would say if you combine those things, diet, exercise, sleep, and general happiness, well-being, not antidepressant medications, but being happy, it would be less than 1% of the course.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm probably being a bit bold even in saying that. Yeah. The entire aspect of medicine is a way of keeping someone who is ill alive longer. Exactly. And it is the same, I think, as being a fireman, okay, or being a fire prevention officer. As a doctor, we learn to be really firefighters. Yeah. Okay, we're given a patient, we never see them out, we only see them when they turn up with an issue, and then the issue is here. It's already here.
Reactive.
Yeah, so we are basically fighting a fire, and it's very, very bold, and it's very exciting, and there's lots of badges to be worn, but something's always burned down. Yeah. Someone's charred. You know, something, no one's the same as when they come in. They've lost something. Yeah. Now, being a fire prevention officer is very different. It's how you avoid the fire from ever happening. And that's a very different mindset, isn't it? But there's very little in the way of fire prevention. It's really, very much firefights. And we're very, very good at it. We get better at it and better at it. But that's when you sort of, that's your light bulb moment, is that almost everybody, you into all that. Heated seats in the shop. Is that you're just seeing patients getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and you don't really see much prevention because it's not an easy thing to see. Yeah. So you do more of it in the GP world, a little bit more functional medicine, avoidance of disease, but still, it is not the basis. Yeah. And you feel that people don't really listen to you. Yeah. You know, these are brief consultations normally designed to, solve an issue. And there's not always 20 minutes to talk about how many lentils somebody eats. That's not what. It's difficult in that sense.
Do you think that's starting to change at all? Or?
Yeah, I think it will. I think in primary care, if we allowed more time with patients, we can certainly look to do that. But I still think it's more likely going to be deferred onto other subspecialties. You could nutritionist, to physio, and then probably eventually just to AI. Yeah. I can't see how my own chat GTP knows a lot about me. Your wearable tech knows a lot about you. For sure. Yeah. I don't think sit down with a doctor and tell him for 2 hours what I've eaten in the last month is ever going to happen. It's more likely to be on my phone. Yeah. And it'll say, you know what, this year you've eaten way too many lentils. Okay. And not exercise your legs enough.
Overdone it on the lentils.
Totally. So I can see how doctors will be better diagnosing machines, maybe more skilled in doing procedures, but so much of AI will come in and swoop and do a lot of this primary care medicine. We'll do it for ourselves. I hope that will be the case.
I think we're
thought you were going to say ruin, but you said revolutionise.
Well,
but yes,
yeah,
double-edged sword.
yeah, definitely. But it will. I mean, even just with the technology we have now in terms of AI, we're set to revolutionise the field. It's going to be really interesting to see as these AI models keep getting more and more powerful, how it impacts the medical field and biology, chemistry and physics and all these things, and how that actually filters through to our daily lives. I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to keep an eye on.
When it comes to longevity, I think if someone says to me, what's the 3 things you tell somebody to do? It wouldn't necessarily be a high-end individual supplement ingredient that I would say. That would not be the first thing you would say, is it? Is there, I can think of a couple, but is there one thing you would want to grab somebody now if you had kids or younger sibling and say, I've looked into things, I really think this would be number 1. What would be on your top hit list?
I mean, again, it's a very nebulous term, but I mean, exercise, just moving your body, is just so crucial to not only lifespan but health span, and that is just being a functional human being, being able to do the things that you want to do, move your body, these things that you take for granted when you're younger.
Down and pick stuff up.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Being able to walk, walk down a road, walk as far as you want, carry your shopping back home, pick up a child, pick up another grandkid, take your luggage on an aeroplane.
There's no pill going to really make that happen.
And just doing a very small amount of exercise, the impact that has, a few minutes a day, just is astronomical in terms of when you look at the effect sizes of various studies compared to people that don't move.
Yes.
So I think we're increasingly living in a world and society where you don't have to get up from your chair to do anything. You can order food, you can order anything you want. It comes straight to your door. It's so easy not to leave your home. You've got online gaming, YouTube. You can spend all day just sitting down. And I do it myself sometimes. If I don't have a plan in mind at the start of the day, it's so easy just to while away the hours, sit down and research on something, looking at something on YouTube. You take a break by looking at from one screen to another screen on your phone, and I think that's the thing. Is getting up and just moving your body. I think that's it.
And I always laugh that exercise really is very, very bad for you, in the sense of it increases your heart rate, increases blood pressure, raises cholesterol, raises blood sugar, makes you dehydrate.
If you ever had a drug and you saw the side effects,
you wouldn't touch it.
It would be like,
you wouldn't touch it. And you can't
away
exercise all day.
No,
because it will kill you.
And you might break a leg. You might do something.
But it's the nature of its sort of nastiness temporarily that makes the body react, and then sets off and like many of these things, what we talk about in the future is it's the transient stress that creates beneficial changes. And that really is the key to it. So and my one would be sleep. Be I see so many people with sleep issues when they reach 30 plus, 40 plus. I would say if you can work on your sleep as early as possible, because let's face it, it's the weirdest thing in the world to sleep, that we lie down completely passive and powerless, where we could be eaten by any creature for 8 hours a day. If it wasn't totally essential, it would have been evolved out. So it has to be so,
and it's so conserved across the animal kingdom as well. Pretty much every animal sleeps in some capacity. And to be that well conserved, it just shows you how important it is.
That's the way you're going to heal from things. That's how you can process things.
Absolutely.
And I think so. If you get into later life with a good sleep pattern, it is massively important.
And I think also good sleep creates good decision making as well. So you need to have a good sleep. It is so much harder when you haven't had a good sleep, and then you wake up the next day, you're groggy, and the first thing that gets compromised that next day is your work. Is getting up, because you're just like, I can't.
Food choices too.
Food choices. I agree.
Treat people.
It's a fundamental. It is the
only for that when you have kids and things, so something in the future, but when you just, I mean, it's different because I think there's a difference between sleep deprivation during parenthood, because I think there must be some evolutionary, so some redundancy there which allows it.
Okay.
Because it's not the same as sleep deprivation when you haven't got kids.
That's fascinating.
Because the drive to look after a child at night is just, it's maternal. You have no choice. You just every hormone in your body is designed to
supersedes any
if you heard a child cry tonight, you do go whatever. But when you're a parent, you're up and your legs are working and you're out of the bed. So there's some mitigating factor, I think, that allows it when you're parenting. But outside of that, it just destroys you. It just breaks you down. Within a few days, you're just not yourself. So if you can look after that sleep cycle, be kind, think about sleep hygiene, that's those two things. And this is not top level science, is it?
No, it's simple stuff, isn't it?
And so we can never, that's the biggest take home message, I think, would be that. Is we can talk for hours about the complexity of telomeres and mitochondrial function and biomes and stem cell, whatever. But you do yourself still, in this day and age, many a favour by looking after your diet, exercise, sleep, and hopefully doing things in life that you actually enjoy.
I mean, that makes the 90% of what we can do now, in terms of actual effect on our own life, is free things and very cost-effective things, which just, pretty much anyone can do. And you hear these stories of millionaires and billionaires spending tens of millions a year on their own health and all these cutting edge bits of research and technology and treatments and all these things. Actually, what 90% of the benefit they're getting is from these very simple lifestyle measures, which anyone can implement into their own life. So really, that's the message I think we should be portraying at the moment. And in the background, there will be these revolutionary technologies that are being researched all the time, and there's some incredible scientists doing incredible work on these areas, and soon there will be treatments for all these things. But in the meantime, you've got to get to sleep at night, you've got to do that exercise, and hopefully we can get to the point where things are easier, and we can just take something and feel great, and
that is the key.
But
pull up at your hotel now is to don't destroy your body in the hope that some miracle cure for aging is coming along. You're better to preserve what you have as best as possible, so it's easy for you to access even the small changes that will occur in the near future. Fantastic advice. Well, I'll leave you to get drunk and lie down for 6 hours and do nothing.
Thank you very much.
You must go into the hotel now and use the gym and have some sort of beneficial shake of some kind.
Definitely.
And then a power nap. That'll be the best thing.
Absolutely.
And we'll chat again, Chris. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to coming again.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Chris. And there we go. There are organisms which simply would not die because they do not age. They would live forever unless they got an infection or were killed off by predation in some way. So aging is not what you think. It's certainly logged into our DNA at the moment. But if we can unlock that and diminish it, then, gosh, who knows? Could we live forever? Do you want to live forever? Let us know in the comments. Keep watching. There'll be more discussions, many more discussions about longevity and what it means to me, means to you, how we can embrace it and how we can utilize it to give us longer health spans. So keep watching, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Health Drive.